Have you ever looked at someone you love and suddenly felt like time was slipping away faster than you were ready for? I still remember the last winter I spent with my mother. She was sitting by the window, her hands wrapped around a lukewarm cup of tea. It was quiet, just the sound of the wind outside and the soft hum of the heater. She turned to me slowly and said, "Everything feels so far away now, like I'm watching life from behind a window." I didn't know what she meant back then. I just smiled and nodded, thinking she was tired or having a hard day. But now I understand. There are signs, soft, almost invisible at first, that the body is preparing to say goodbye. And if you don't know what to look for, you might miss them. I did, until it was too late. In this video, I want to share with you 7 brutal but real signs that someone may be entering the final stage of life. Not to scare you, but to help you see what's often hidden, and to give you the chance I wish I had, to be present, to prepare, to say the things that matter before time runs out. Because once you notice these signs, you'll never see your loved one the same way again. The first sign came quietly. It was subtle. My mother's clothes started fitting looser. At first, I thought maybe the fabric had stretched, or she was just wearing an older sweater. But then I noticed her hands. Those warm, steady hands that used to make dumplings for the whole family on holidays had become bony, fragile. Her wedding ring slid around her finger when she washed the dishes, and that's when I began to worry. "Mom, are you eating enough?" I asked. "I get full too fast," she said softly. "Food doesn't taste the same anymore." This isn't just a normal part of aging. Sudden, unintentional weight loss is often the body's early signal that something much deeper is happening. When someone enters the final stage of life, their metabolism slows dramatically. The digestive system begins to work less efficiently. Appetite fades. Muscles start to break down, not because they want to, but because the body is no longer prioritizing strength. It's saving energy for only the most vital functions. I remember bringing her favorite foods: chicken soup, freshly steamed rice, sweet pears. But even then, she'd only take a few bites. She wasn't being stubborn. Her body simply didn't want it, as if it had stopped asking for fuel. Doctors will tell you, in late-stage life decline, the loss of lean muscle mass is more than just cosmetic. It weakens the immune system. It increases the risk of infections. It affects balance and makes falls more likely. And perhaps most painfully for us as family, it quietly takes away the energy that once powered conversations, laughter, even short walks to the garden. You may try offering protein drinks or cooking nutrient-rich meals, and that's okay. But if the weight continues to drop, despite your efforts, it may be time to accept that your loved one isn't just getting old. They're transitioning. Looking back, I wish I had known what that empty plate really meant. It wasn't about food. It was about the body letting go, beginning the slow process of shutting down. If you notice loose clothes, shrinking arms, smaller meals, don't brush it off. Sit with them. Hold their hand. And most importantly, talk. Because when the body starts fading, the heart still needs to be heard. There was a morning I'll never forget. I came by her place early to bring breakfast, just like I always did. She was still in bed, eyes open, but she didn't move. I thought she was just resting. But when I asked if she wanted to sit up and eat, she just whispered, "Can we wait a little? I'm so tired." Not the kind of tired you feel after a long walk or a bad night's sleep. This was different. This was bone deep. Fatigue, when it's part of the final stage of life, is not something rest can fix. It's not solved with vitamins or a long nap. It's the body slowing down, quietly, deliberately. Energy that once fueled simple things, getting out of bed, brushing teeth, even sitting upright, starts to disappear. She began to sleep more. First, just an extra hour in the morning, then long naps in the afternoon. Eventually, most of the day was spent in silence, either asleep or in a kind of quiet fog. Conversations became shorter. Sometimes she'd start a sentence and just stop, like even words were too heavy. And that's the thing. When the body begins to conserve energy, it doesn't just affect movement, it touches everything. The heart slows, circulation weakens, oxygen delivery drops, and even the brain starts to function at a lower pace. It's as if the entire system is saying, "We're preparing to rest." What broke my heart was not just seeing her move slower, but watching how much it frustrated her. She used to take pride in her independence. She used to fix her hair every morning, fold laundry just the way she liked it. But now, holding a spoon felt like a workout. If you're noticing this kind of exhaustion in someone you love, if they say they feel wiped out for no reason, if walking from one room to another feels like climbing a mountain, believe them. Don't push. Don't guilt them into just trying harder. Instead, sit with them. Let them move at their own pace. And understand that this isn't giving up. It's the body quietly asking for peace. One afternoon, as I was sitting next to my mom, she turned to me with a soft smile and asked, "Have you seen your father today?" There was a long pause in my chest before I answered. "Dad's been gone for 10 years, remember?" She blinked slowly, her smile fading. "Oh, that's right," she murmured, looking away. And then she didn't say anything else for the rest of the visit. That was the first time I realized something was truly shifting. Not just her body, but her mind. Her sense of time, of place, of reality, had started to blur. Some days, she would ask the same question 3 or 4 times. Other days, she'd sit silently, not because she didn't want to talk, but because she couldn't seem to find the words. This kind of confusion isn't just memory loss. It's the brain slowly receiving less oxygen, less energy, less stimulation. As circulation weakens, the brain begins to dim, like lights in a house shutting off one room at a time. But what struck me even more than the forgetfulness was the emotional withdrawal. My mom, who used to ask about the kids, laugh at old stories, hum while folding clothes, started going quiet. Not sad, just quiet, like she was moving inward. She stopped answering the phone, stopped reacting when her favorite songs came on. Sometimes she wouldn't even look up when I entered the room. And yet, when I held her hand, she'd squeeze back. When I whispered, "I love you," tears would form in her eyes. That's when I understood. She wasn't gone. She was just turning inward. Preparing. This is one of the hardest stages for families. It feels like you're losing them before they're really gone. But what helped me most was learning not to fight it, not to try and pull her back, but to meet her where she was. If your loved one is forgetting things, seems lost in thought, or doesn't engage like they used to, don't panic, and don't take it personally. Sit beside them. Speak gently. Just be there. Because in this stage, your presence means more than your words ever could. It started with a small scratch. She had bumped her hand on the edge of the kitchen counter, a little red line just below her thumb. Nothing serious. We cleaned it, put on a bandage, and thought nothing of it. But a week later, it still looked red. 2 weeks later, it hadn't closed. A month passed, and it had turned slightly purple, with the skin around it dry and tender. That's when it hit me. Her body was no longer healing. Before this, she used to bounce back from everything. A cold, a bruise, a seasonal flu. She'd rest, drink tea, and recover. But now, every little thing lingered. A cough wouldn't go away. A UTI came back 3 times in 6 months, and each time the recovery was slower, heavier. I asked her doctor why this was happening. He looked at me with quiet compassion and said, "Her immune system is tired. It's not broken, just winding down." In the final stage of life, the body no longer fights with full strength. The immune system, which once stood guard day and night, begins to lower its defenses. Infections that were once manageable become persistent. Small wounds stay open. Simple illnesses leave the body exhausted. And sometimes the symptoms don't even look dramatic. There's no fever, no swelling, just a deeper fatigue, a lack of appetite, or more confusion than usual. These are the quiet signs that something deeper is wrong. We often think we can fix these problems. Another round of antibiotics, more hydration, stronger creams. But I began to realize this wasn't about curing anymore. It was about comforting. I started focusing less on making the symptoms disappear and more on how she felt. Was she in pain? Was she comfortable? Was she warm, clean, and at peace? If someone you love starts getting sick more often, healing more slowly, or reacting differently to infections, please don't ignore it. This is the body's way of telling us it's preparing. It doesn't mean we stop caring. It just means we shift our care from fighting to soothing. Because sometimes the most loving thing we can do is to stop trying to fix and simply be there to ease the path. The first time I noticed it, she was asleep in her chair. At least I thought she was. But then I saw it, her chest rising and falling, unevenly. A long pause, then a sharp breath, then stillness again. Her breathing had changed, not in a dramatic, gasping way. It was subtle, quiet, but different. And once I heard it, I couldn't unhear it. Some nights, I'd sit by her bed, just listening. The rhythm was no longer steady. Sometimes it sped up, then slowed down. Sometimes she'd stop for a few seconds, so long that I'd panic, only for her to inhale suddenly, deeply, like her body remembered just in time. This is one of the clearest signs the body is entering its final phase. It's called Cheney-Stokes breathing, a pattern where breath becomes irregular, shallow, and marked by pauses. It happens because the brain's signals to the lungs are starting to fade. The body is slowly letting go. And it wasn't just her breathing. Her hands and feet began to feel cold, even when the room was warm. The color of her skin, especially her fingers and toes, shifted. Pale at first, then slightly bluish. I'd hold her hand, and it would feel like holding a thin glove, cool and fragile. This is what happens when circulation begins to shut down. The heart is no longer strong enough to push blood to the far edges of the body. Instead, it conserves energy for the core, keeping only the most vital parts going for as long as it can. What hurt most wasn't the physical change. It was what it signaled, that she was closer to the end than I had admitted. If you're seeing these changes, irregular breathing, cold extremities, bluish skin, it doesn't mean death is immediate, but it does mean the body is shifting inward. It's moving toward peace, toward stillness. And in those moments, the best thing we can do is breathe with them, match their rhythm, hold their hands, whisper gently, light a candle, turn down the lights. Let them know they are not alone in the quiet. Because in the final chapters of life, silence is sacred, and presence is everything. There was a time when my mother would light up every time the grandkids visited. Even when she was tired, even when her body was failing, just the sound of their little voices would bring life back to her eyes. But one day, they came in with their usual laughter, jumping on the couch and showing off their drawings, and she barely reacted. She smiled faintly, but it didn't reach her eyes. She didn't ask them questions, didn't pull them close like she always did. She just sat quietly, her gaze drifting toward the window. That moment shattered something in me. At first I thought maybe she was upset, maybe she didn't feel well. But over the next few days, I realized it was something deeper. She wasn't angry. She was turning inward, letting go. This is one of the most painful signs to witness, when someone you love starts pulling away emotionally, not because they want to, but because their spirit is gently detaching from the world. She stopped watching her favorite shows, stopped reading, stopped asking about the outside world. Even food became more of a routine than a pleasure. And the conversations we used to have, the long, winding ones about life, childhood, dreams, were replaced by silence. Sometimes, just holding hands was the most we could do. I used to take it personally. I thought I was losing her, and in a way, I was. But not in the way I feared, because deep inside, I knew she wasn't rejecting us. She was preparing. She was making peace with time. Her body had already started to fade. Now her heart was learning how to say goodbye. If you're seeing this in someone you love, I want you to know, this isn't a sign of sadness. It's not depression. It's a sacred stage. A soul slowly untying its threads from this world. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to force engagement. Just be there. Sit beside them. Speak softly. Turn on the music they used to love. Bring them sunlight. Bring them your stillness. Because even when they stop speaking, they still hear you. Even when their eyes grow distant, they still feel your love. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. 3 days before my mother passed, she said something I will never forget. We were sitting quietly in her room, the late afternoon sun spilling through the curtains. She hadn't spoken much that day, just closed her eyes and rested. But then, out of nowhere, she opened her eyes, looked past me, and said softly, "Has Mama arrived yet?" I paused. "Your mother?" I asked gently. She nodded slowly. She said she'd be here soon. I want to wait before I go. Her mother had died over 40 years ago. At that moment, I felt something shift inside me. I'd read about this before. How many people, in their final days or hours, begin speaking of loved ones who've passed, or describe seeing places, lights, even journeys ahead. Some talk about going home. Others ask about a train, a car, a door. Some simply whisper, "It's almost time." Doctors call it visioning. It's surprisingly common, and while science doesn't fully explain it, those who work in hospice know it well. It's not confusion. It's not hallucination. It's something deeper, the soul beginning to transition. What's most incredible is how peaceful it often is. My mother didn't seem afraid. She wasn't panicked or distressed. She was waiting, calmly, like she knew something we didn't, like she was already standing at the edge of something we couldn't see. In those final days, she spoke less and slept more. But when she did speak, her words were soft and certain. She once whispered, "They're just outside the door." I asked who, and she smiled faintly. "The ones I've missed." If someone you love begins saying things like this, don't correct them. Don't tell them, "That's not real," or "That doesn't make sense." Just listen. Smile. Hold their hand. Because what they're saying may not be meant for this world. And if they say they're waiting for someone, they probably are. Let them. Sit with them. Be the stillness between their breaths. And when it's time, let them go, knowing they were seen, heard, and loved until their very last word. If you've recognized even one of these signs in someone you love, I want you to know, you're not alone. These moments are not meant to scare us. They are invitations. Invitations to be present, to hold a hand a little longer, to say the words we've been saving, to sit in silence and let love speak without needing sound. The end of life isn't just about loss. It's about honoring the quiet wisdom of the body, which often knows before we do. And when we begin to listen, not just with our ears, but with our hearts, we find that this transition, though painful, can also be sacred. Because when someone begins to fade, it's not always a tragedy. Sometimes it's a final unfolding, a return, a letting go wrapped in love. So if you see these signs, pause. Don't rush to fix. Don't run from the truth. Just be there, fully, softly. You don't have to say everything, just enough. You don't have to understand it all, just witness it. And that alone, your presence, is the greatest gift you can give. Thanks so much for being here with us today. We'd really love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us one thing you took away from this video and how you're planning to use it in your life. Your thoughts truly matter to us, and reading your comments gives us the energy to keep going. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who might need it.